Hey, Dr. Labute, what's up, man? Just making a little video here explaining how our spreadsheet projections work. So, as you know, there are two types of projections. One is based on the seeding that the selection committee has done for the tournament, and the other one is done by the Pythagorean expectations based on KenPom team ratings. So those aren't always matching up too well with the seeding. So that's why we get these different predictions for the tournament outcome. And it's just because like the selection committee uses their eye test, right? Whereas KenPom just like uses the numbers that the team, you know, how badly did they beat people? What was the score of all their games, etc. So um, I haven't done an analysis to figure out which of these two predictions actually performs better. I think we've been doing it. I think maybe this is the fourth year that we have this information, so I can check it out here after this season. We'll see who does better. I'm guessing the Pythagorean has fared a little bit better, but I don't know that for sure. So anyway, here's how it works. So here's the current player pool status, which is giving us a current projection for both the seeding and the Pythagorean, and you'll notice that that projection is different than what we saw at the start of the tournament. And that's because I have it set up to update the projections based on games that have already happened. So here's how the projections work. I have a bracket going um, for the current tournament, and I just set it up with all of the seeds for each of the four regions. So here's the seedings given. And when the selection committee announces their bracket, they also actually announce their rankings 1 through 68. So we have the rankings according to the selection committee. So of course Gonzaga has been ranked number 1. So I just have this spreadsheet that's been turned into this bracket here, and I assign each of the teams their respective rating according to the selection committee. And when a game is completed, I'll just enter into one of these fields the winner of that game. So Gonzaga beat Norfolk State, so I just carry over the 1. So you can see how that has happened now through the Sweet 16. We've got Gonzaga won, they won, and then they won again, and now they're going to be playing USC tomorrow. Brian hopes that USC wins, but they have like basically no chance because Gonzaga is really good. Okay. Although I will say that USC has been like destroying teams, so I don't know. Maybe they can do it. All right. So on this bracket here on the left, this is where I fill in the actual results. So then I have a bracket here on the right that just continues that forward. So we know that Gonzaga and USC have not played yet, but the bracket makes a prediction of who's going to win that game based on their seeding. So the selection committee ranked Gonzaga 1, so obviously they believe that Gonzaga is going to be USC, and that's how this works. So the seeding projection just follows these rankings that were handed out by the selection committee. So because Gonzaga is ranked number 1, they're just going to continue winning no matter who they play according to the seeds, right? So here's like the lower two brackets. So that's how the seeding works, basically, or that's how the projections work. So it fills out a bracket to completion based on what has already happened and then what is expected based on the seeds of the remaining teams. So once we have that information, I go back onto a third spreadsheet and I just pull out all of the information from the main sheet. So here we see Alex's team. Here's his squad. Here's the season points per game, and then all the results that have already occurred, and then the 3 rounds that can still occur for his 2 players, right? So the way the projection works is for round 4, Corey Kispert, the spreadsheet will go back to our bracket sheet and we'll say, is Gonzaga expected to win in round 4? And if the answer is yes, well then they'll insert Corey Kispert's season points per game as the expected point total. So he's expected to score 19.2 points in round 4. Of course, he can't score a .2, so this does some rounding. can't score a fraction of points in a single game. So that's how the expectation works. And if we scroll over here to the right, you can see that. So Corey Kispert's played in 3 games, and he scored 23, 16, and 12. But he's also expected, based on this logic here, right? I got this like crazy spreadsheet logic, which is unnecessary to like go through here, but it's basically just going to that bracket sheet, checking whether or not Gonzaga is going to win or expected to win. And then if they're going to participate in a particular game, it just fills in his season points per game. So you can see his 19.2, he's going to score 19.2 3 times. Michigan is going to make it to the Final Four, but not play in the final game. So Dickinson's going to score 14.2 twice for Alex. So that's how the projections work. Now, using the Pythagorean is slightly different because we don't use the seeds. So we have to like make a second bracket, right? So here's the seeding bracket. This is where I fill in the results. These are the seeding projections based on the upcoming matchups. But then we have the KenPom side here. So this is the Pythagorean ranking. So instead of 1 through 68, at the start of the tournament, I pull out their Pythagorean ranking and slot it in here. So instead of Norfolk being the 66th best team, they just get a 200. And that's important because the seedings are oftentimes not very close at all to a team's Pythagorean. So at the start of the tournament, USC was the 14th best team according to the KenPom ratings, but their seeding slotted them at 21. And like, obviously, like which one was closer to the truth? Obviously, 14 was better because they've been like just steamrolling, right? So anyway, that's how it works. So basically, we've got this Pythagorean bracket that works the exact same way. As soon as I fill in a result, it will move up the result, and then when it doesn't have a result yet, it checks the rankings between the 2 competing teams and fills that in over here. And then we go back to our little third sheet here, and this bracket again uses that crazy spreadsheet logic formula that I had to come up with to go and check that sheet to see whether or not they're going to play. So at this point, the seeding and the Pythagorean ratings for Gonzaga are identical. They're the best team according to both systems. And so, again, Kispert's going to, according to the Pythagorean projection, play in 3 more games, and he's going to score 9.2 on each of them. Okay? So that's how these projections work. And then I've got a little rounding. Once these numbers are totaled, then I just round up or down depending on whatever to get us a nice whole number. So anyway, that's how the projections work. They do change quite a bit because, for example, teams like Oral Roberts advance a lot. So like from the start of the tournament, the projections can change pretty substantially because instead of whoever had to play Oral Roberts in the second round was probably like it's possible that they weren't favored in the second round originally, but then when the upset happened, now they're the favorite, so your projections can start to swing pretty wildly. But I think at the current status of the tournament is such that the seeding and the Pythagorean projections are now basically the same. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. I'm just using a couple of different spreadsheets here to make projections based on what has already occurred in the games, and then it simply just fills in what is expected to occur for the games that haven't yet been played. I think this can be tweaked by adjusting players' points per game based on like their performance in the tournament. So currently it's just like the regular season points per game, but like I have more data that we could insert. So like after 3 rounds, that's 3 more games that we can use to adjust their expected points per game. But I just haven't done that. Like every team plays different amounts of games, so I'll just have to maybe next year I'll do it. I'll just have to pull out the like games played by each player, and then we can adjust the expected point output based on like also the tournament games. So anyway, that's how it works. It's not super complicated. It just took a little while to get these formulas set up and working correctly. Like these freaking if or statements are like bananas because you're toggling back and forth between different sheets, making sure all these little like letters and numbers are correct, and it was kind of a headache. But once you get it, thankfully it copies over pretty well. Year to year, you just have to like double check, make sure there's no errors. But anyway, that's how it works. I hope it makes sense. Everyone, enjoy the rest of the tournament. I'm pretty worried about my chances now. I think Lloyd has a better chance than he personally thinks, but I guess it all comes down to Arkansas for me. So sorry, Brian, but I hope Baylor does not win. Goodbye.